and welcome to today's online keynote on the topic of how international students can access the Austrian job market. My name is Julia and I'm moderating this online keynote on behalf of the WU ZBP Career Center. Before we get into the topic and I hand over to Angelika Köpf from the Austrian Business Agency, I have some organizational information for you. The microphones are muted, the cameras are deactivated. If you have any questions, just post them into the chat. We will take a look at them at the end of the keynote. The keynote will be recorded and will be on our website within the next few days. And now I'm looking forward to an exciting keynote and I hand over to Angelika.
Thank you, Julia. Hi, everyone. Let me just share my screen before I get started. And please let me know if you can see it. Can you see it, Julia?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hi, everyone. My name is Angelika. I'm from the Austrian Business Agency, and I want to give you a short overview of how international students can access the Austrian labor market and how we from the Austrian Business Agency and specifically Work in Austria can help you. Work in Austria or the Austrian Business Agency is parted in three segments. We have Invest in Austria. We support international companies who want to settle in Austria. Basically, it's FDI, but we also support internationals who want to build their own company or have a startup idea and want to build this idea in Austria. So if you are an international with an idea for a startup or want to build a company or found a company, then let us know. We can help you free of charge from our Invest in Austria team. Work in Austria, the department where I'm from, we support international skilled workers, academics, students who want to work in Austria while they're still studying or after graduation with anything they need to know on the Austrian labor market. And Film in Austria, we support international film productions who want to film in Austria. Before I go into my presentation, I want to give you what is it that I do. I support international students that are currently studying at Austrian universities, such as you. Any information you need about your options to stay and work in Austria, we can provide you. We can give you consultation on work permits if you are a third country citizen, residence permits after graduation, or what can you do while you're still studying. Learnings about applying for jobs in Austria, what is the Austrian way to actually go on the labor market, and every contact with us is personal via email in written form. So we don't provide a personal one-on-one meeting, but in email form, because then you have it in written form and you can take it to the authority if there's any problem. We also have this website, workinaustria.com/international-students. And everything we provide for you is free of charge because the Austrian Business Agency is an Austrian governmental agency and the Austrian state basically provides this service for you. Sorry. Our services include the Talent Hub. So the Work in Austria Talent Hub is a platform where you as an international can register. Austrian companies can register, and it's basically to match Austrian companies who are eager to hire internationals who know that you might need a work permit if you're a third country citizen, who are aware that you might not speak German yet. They are happy to post their jobs on our website and are eager to connect with you via the Talent Hub. So check it out. Everything is for free and it's according to our data security. What are the benefits for you on the Talent Hub? So Austrian companies can find your profile if you publish it and can contact you. They can save you in their own notebook and can compare you to other applicants. And they can write you an email via the Talent Hub directly. So make sure to publish your profile, to make it a very good profile so that you can compare with other applicants on the Talent Hub. You can enter all your qualifications, your informations, and a personal job agent finds suitable jobs according to what qualification you enter. This is based on the so-called ESCO system, so European Skills, Competences and Occupational Settings. European system that basically compares different qualifications for jobs and matches them. So try it out, enter your qualifications, and then you can find suitable jobs or jobs that are matching the description. As you can see here in this screenshot, Job Maps is based on Google Maps, but it shows you the location of the jobs and the companies in Austria so that you can find out in which federal state of Austria. I know Austria is not as big as many other countries, but then you still find out in which location would this job or this company be. You can, of course, search for jobs yourself and save interesting jobs in your personal notebook for later reference or for later applications. That is possible too. And you can always apply directly via the job advert and send your profile and your CV directly to the company. So try it out. It's based in English and in German, and the jobs are always posted in the language that the company wants them to be posted. So if it's in German, then it will always be a German advert. If it's in English, then it's an English advert, but you can translate it anytime, so you might understand it better if your German is not as well, or if you think you need it in your mother tongue. A second service is our personal guide. The personal guide on living in Austria and working in Austria is basically an overview of anything related to relocation and living in Austria, like health insurance, savings, how to go about buying a flat or renting a flat or getting a cat or bringing your family. Everything you need to know is in this first-hand personal guide. We also have now included in our work in Austria section in this guide a detailed description on how to apply for jobs in Austria or how to go about job interviews in Austria. So check it out. A third very good tool is the first immigration guide in Austria. So it gives you every legal information you need. As you can see here, if you are a non-EU citizen or an EU citizen, or if you are an Austrian employer, which means you can refer this website at any time to an Austrian employer where you have the feeling that this employer might not hire you because you are from a third country and they don't know about the legal procedure. You can refer this website to the Austrian employer and tell them that you are in contact with us from the ABA and that we help the Austrian employer with the procedure of hiring you as a non-EU citizen. You can scroll through it, you can enter your informations, and then the immigration guide spits out the information or what documents you might need for what procedure. If you need more personal details or more personal information about immigration law or your legal situation in Austria, then you can email our immigration and residence services. We have 5 highly skilled legal experts who give you free advice and information about immigration and residence. As I said, it's personal, it's only for you. It's if you want to include your company or potential Austrian employer, you can do so. We help as you and the Austrian employer with the procedure. We go through it all the way. We also help family members if you have any question on bringing them. It's for free, and it's particularly concerning permanent immigration. So all the phases of obtaining residence and work permits until permanent immigration will be possible. We also play a mediator role with authorities. So if you have any challenges or problem with your residence and work permit, we are happy to take over and play a mediator with the authorities, because since 2022, the ABA is anchored in the Austrian foreign employment law, and therefore we have some authority and some power to actually mediate on your behalf. Now I want to give you a short overview over the legal foundations that this law is based on. So working and living in Austria as a foreigner, which laws are particularly relevant is the Austrian Residence and Settlement Act, and so short NAG. So if you ever come across this abbreviation, then you know this is the law that applies to your case, and the Act of Governing the Employment of Foreign Nationals, which are the target groups, so EU citizens and EEA citizens, so Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland, and third country nationals. There are 3 important rules that apply for third country nationals. As you already are aware, probably as a third country citizen, you need a residence permit always, which is just that you are permitted to have residence in Austria. Longer than 6 months, it's called residence permit. Shorter than 6 months, it's called a visa. If you want to work in Austria, you always need a work permit. That is always required. So with your residence permit student, you are not allowed to work. You always need a work permit, which your employer has to apply for. So you cannot get a work permit by yourself. There are several permits that are a combination of a residence and work permit, which are called red, white, red cards. And I will go now into the details of it and give you an overview of what you can do as an international student from a third country. So this does not apply for EU or EEA citizens. As a third country citizen, during your studies, as I said, you always need a work permit, which your employer has to apply for. So you cannot get a work permit, but your employer has to apply for at the IMS, which is the Public Employment Service. And it might not take that long, approximately 4 weeks maximum, to get this work permit according to what you are doing. It's possible to work part-time or full-time as with a valid residence permit student. But there is one important fact, that if you are working more than part-time, so more than 20 hours per week, there might be a labor market test that the IMS can execute. A labor market test is to check if there are currently unemployed Austrian people who might be more suited to this job than you are. This might come in when the job is more of a student job, like, for example, waitressing. So if the job requires a higher education or qualification like you have, then this labor market test might not apply. So make sure to check if this job might come in this category. You can always write us if you have questions on that, but we recommend that while you're studying, you work part-time 20 hours per week, and then the work permit will not be a problem. If you do an internship during your semester free time, then 40 hours will not be a problem, because during your semester free time, you're allowed to work full time because it's a limited time period. And during your semester, you can switch to 20 hours again. This is a very individual procedure. So if you have any questions, you can always ask us. After graduation, so say you will graduate soon, you can extend your residence permit student for another year in order to look for a job. It's sometimes falsely called a job seeker visa, which it is not. It is an extension of the residence permit student, and it's kind of like the same procedure you go through every year while extending your residence permit student, but this time you will be a graduate that extends this permit. In this year, you can look for a job. You can work still in your student job if you have one, but you can now look full time for a job in Austria that actually refers to your qualification or your finished or graduated studies. If you find a job within this year which matches your studies, you are eligible to apply for a so-called red card for graduates, which is a special card for students that have studied at an Austrian university. This card is valid for 2 years, and with it you are bound to the job, which means you cannot get this card without a job. First you get the job, then you get the card, and then it's valid for 2 years and bound to this job. After these 2 years, you can switch to the long-term options, which is the red card plus. It's valid for 3 years and it allows you to change jobs. After these 3 years, you can go into the long-term residence EU permit, which is valid for 5 years, and you can travel around the EU for free, or like an Austrian. But you cannot work outside of Austria. That is important. It's just a residence permit, not a work EU permit. It's for 5 years. In total, after 10 years, you can apply for the Austrian citizenship. I have here an overview of all the red cards and the EU blue card there are in Austria, just so that you see it once. You can always find it on our website or the immigration guide if you want to go through it. So as you can see here on the fourth from the left, there is the Graduates of Austrian Universities card, which is the one I recommend for you, because as you can see here, the basic prerequisite are studying at an Austrian university, which you will do. There's no point system, no labor market test, no minimum salary. And if you bring family members, they only have to prove that they have German skills of A1, which might not be applicable for most of you. There are other cards like the skilled workers in shortage occupations, which is based on a list of shortage occupations that are published every year by the government. And if your job that you applied for and that you might have gotten is part of this shortage occupation list, then this might be the red card for you. Other key workers is basically every job that is not on the shortage occupations list. Then you fall under the category of the red card for other key workers. As you can see here, there is a minimum gross salary. And there is the very highly qualified workers, is also called a manager card. That might not be applicable for most of you because you are starting your career, or you might not have yet the experience of 5 years plus in a job. But if you do, this might be the card for you. And in comparison, there is the EU Blue Card. Don't let it fool you. It doesn't mean that you are allowed to work in the EU. It's just based on EU law. And in every EU country, this blue card applies, but it only allows you to work in Austria if you apply for a job in Austria. The EU Blue Card might be a card for you if, as you can see here, you have completed your studies of at least 3 years, or you are, for example, an IT specialist. So for special fields or sectors where there is a need for professional experience, this blue card might be something for you. But as you can see here, there might be no point system but a labor market test, and the minimum gross salary is 3,400 something per month. So this is an overview of all the legal work and residence permits there are in Austria. There might be some more, for example, for self-employed and startup founders, but these cards might only come in case if you have a proper business idea, and then we can help you in the procedure of receiving this red card for self-employed persons. Just to give you a short overview of what does the employer do. So his role or her role, the obligations are very simple. Within 3 days of the beginning or ending of your employment, the IMS, the Austrian Public Employment Service, has to be notified that you will start or finish your work. Of course, this is true for third country nationals. EU citizens are like Austrian citizens, so the IMS will be notified, and the health insurance as well, same time. As you can see here, third country nationals holding a long-term residence EU permit are accepted from this because they are already considered EU citizen, basically. What I urge you to, that if you are starting at a new job, make sure that you have all the copies of your residence permits, confirmations, all your documents in a straight up folder, and that your company gives you copies of all the conversation they have with the IMS or with the immigration authority, or if there is an inspection by the financial police, that you have all the documents also in your repertoire. That is important so that if there is something or there's a legal issue, that you are prepared for it. For internships, there are various forms of internships. First, the easiest is Berufs- oder Ferialpraktikum. So an internship for students who are studying in Austria, and this internship might be required for your studies, or it's a mandatory internship. That is the easiest form to get, because then the IMS has to be notified by the employer and issues a so-called confirmation of notification. Make sure that your residence permit student is always valid. You can do a voluntary internship. The prerequisite is that it's no longer than 3 months. Why? Because we don't want you to be exploited, and then you have to get a form of salary or remuneration. The purpose is to apply knowledge, to acquire acquisition of skills for practice. The IMS again has to be notified by your employer and your residence permit student, or if you have a visa C for gainful purposes, has to be valid. What I also recommend is check out international exchange programs like Erasmus Plus. They also have internship possibilities, but there are also other programs like IASTE, ELSA, or ISEC, and they can help you with getting an internship at an Austrian company if you're an international, again, third country citizen. And in this case, the IMS has to be notified by your employer and will issue a so-called exemption confirmation because you are doing this internship via the exchange program and not directly via the employer. What also is a possibility is the internship within the framework of the EU Research and Student Directive, which is a 3 to 6 month study-related internship. So if you're writing a master thesis, for example, or want to write it about an issue in a third country, and you can apply for this internship, and the IMS again has to be notified and issues a confirmation of notification, which is also possible not only for residence permit students or Visa C, but also Visa D. Just to give you a short overview and maybe to again go over it, what is important in Austria. Application documents are curriculum vitae, cover letter, work samples, references, and recommendations. Make sure to lay out and structure that you really go into details about your work experiences, education, and qualification. And in Austria, I know it might not be in most countries yet, but in Austria, it's still custom to have the perfect application photo. So make sure to have not a passport photo, but a photo of yourself, to a professional photo of yourself. Sorry. So learning German, I have here some recommendations because it is important to learn German. Most Austrian employers demand German. I would always recommend giving the language levels in your CV from A1 to C2, so European reference. Some language courses and extensive free learning material you can find on sprachportal.at or online language courses or Integrationfonds and deutsch.info. So if you have any further recommendation, you can always email us, or if you need further recommendation, you can always email us. Here I have some useful links from our website, everything you need to know. Also, if you are from Ukraine, there's a special card. And yeah, if anything else, you can always email me. There's my email address. And if I can ask you to shortly go into this QR code and scan it and leave your details just for my case so that I know that you have been participating in my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Angelika. There are already some questions in the chat. What options does someone with more than 5 years experience from a third country have entering the Austrian job market?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
With what options does someone with more than 5 years experience from a third country have entering the Austrian job market?
Well, it depends. It might be possible that as a legal situation that you might come in reference for the EU Blue Card or the very highly qualified workers card. but I cannot answer this question in just in this forum, because it depends. I mean, what experience do you have? Do you have experience in one job, or did you have many different jobs? It's always important to have at least 1 year in one job, because that gives me continence. It gives me a continuity. So yeah, it's very hard to answer this question. I don't know what you mean, if you mean legal options, or if you mean just in terms of applying for jobs. But in terms of legal options, you might have it easier. But I would still urge you to finish your studies at the WU, because then the red card for graduates might be the card for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. There's another question. You have talked about permits for non-EU people. Is there any precise procedure for EU as for documents?
For EU?
For EU, yes.
For EU citizens, it's just important that you are registered in Austria. The Anmeldebescheinigung is the name for it, and that you're registered within 3 days to 3 months. That's the time that you can do it. But it's always important to have a registration in Austria. And other than that, you don't really need anything.
Okay. Then another question we have, does this mean a full-size photo for application?
Just not a passport photo, because you're not smiling. I would recommend investing some money in it, make it professional, have business attire, white background, maybe from the side, nice lighting, and you smiling, maybe up to the torso. So it doesn't need to be a lot. So just up to your torso, so your breast. That is important. It's kind of like you can do it wherever you do a passport photo. You can ask them if you can do application photo, and they will do it.
Okay, then there is another question. How long does it take the employer to apply for work permit?
It depends, because they have to go through your record. They have to check with what country you're from. It's really an individual process, but it cannot take longer than 3 months. So 90 days is the maximum duration, and it depends in which federal state the company is. In Vienna, it will take longer because there are a lot more applications. In other federal states, for example, Tyrol, it will take shorter because there are not so many people that apply for this work permit. It also depends on your documents. Are they straightforward? The employer, how eager are they? Are they behind it? So if you want to include us and we can help you through the procedure with your employer, then it might take not that long, but maximum is 90 days.
Perfect. And one last question. Is there a minimum wage for student jobs?
No, there's no minimum wage for student jobs. So it depends on the job and your qualifications, but you should be remunerated accordingly and not be exploited. So this is important.
Okay, great. So there are 2 more questions. Where can we find more specific information on resume standards, page count, subsections, cover letter format? Are Austrian standards similar to other EU countries like Germany?
You can find everything. In my presentation, I posted the link to our personal guide. You can go through it. It's the section Work in Austria. So the personal guide has 6 sections, and the subsection Work in Austria can give you tips and what are the resume standards for Austrian employers. In Austria, remember, we are still very conservative. We have traditional standards that might be true for some employers that are more locally based, but international companies in Austria, they might be more Anglo-Saxon in their way of applications. The same is true for Germany. For example, Switzerland, so the German speaking countries are still very much conservative in this regard, but it depends on the company. So you first have to really research the company. That is important because it can tell you a lot about what where they are doing their business, how international they really are, if they are just locally or regional or working around in Austria, if they have English as a speaking language or just German. So these are all the factors that are necessary to have in order to make a good resume. But yeah, like I said, the Austrian standards are similar to German-speaking countries.
Okay, and one last question. Hi, so I'm graduating this year. I want to do an internship in, say, Germany for 3 to 6 months. Can I do it with Austrian RP? If not, do I need to notify here while applying for their visa?
No, you cannot do it with an Austrian residence permit. Let's say well, that is a difficult question because we cannot answer it. It depends on the company. If the company is located in Germany, then of course you need the work permit from Germany. If you say you want to continue then studying in Austria, then it depends on the university. If this is possible for the university that you keep your residence permit for the duration of the internship, but if it takes longer than the semester free time, then I doubt that this will be possible. So I would say no, but it depends really on the job and where the company is located. Because if it's an Austrian company, but the job is just in Germany, then it's possible because then the company is still located in Austria. But yeah.
Great. Angelika, thank you so much for all the input. That brings us already to the end of this keynote.
Yeah, can I just answer this last question?
No,
no,
there is one last question. I haven't seen it. Of course, please
can I
answer
apply for
it.
the long-term residence EU permit right after 2 years red card? No, you cannot. So it depends on your specific stay if you have already 5 years, but normally you cannot. But yeah, like I said, it depends on your case, but normally no. Sorry.
Okay. No, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Then, okay, there is again one last question. Okay, I hope it's okay if we answer this, if you answer this one.
Oh, yes.
I'm renewing my RP this June for 1 year, but I graduate in November. Do I need to change my status in November or next June when I have to renew it?
I am renewed for one, but I grad in November. Yeah, no, it's always and the RP is important, not job seeker visa. I know what you mean, but it's called an extension to the residence permit student. Don't call it job seeker visa, but it's from the 1st of June. So next June you can renew it. So you have much more time to look for a job. So use it well.
Perfect. Okay, Angelika, again, thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to add?
Well, no, let me know how you're doing. And if you have any questions, you can always email us.
Okay, then thank you so much and have a nice day.
You too.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.